I thank you all for the happy presence you have given me. I thank our hostess of the evening, who is very close to my heart. Today's subject, I think she has proposed it. I understand by the nature of the subject. Love, the word love has its meaning as old as the creation. But the word is used in as many meanings as we like, because every time we use the word, we use it in a different sense than the original. And we cannot use in the original sense exactly as it fits. That's the reason why we use it in some different sense. Every time different in some way or other from the original sense. We cannot use it better because we do not possess the meaning of the word in an ideal sense. The original meaning of the word is possessed only by one, and we do not know him properly. He is whom we call God. Of course, the meaning of the word God is also known roughly by every one of us. Therefore, the meaning of the word love is also used roughly. Had we known the meaning of the word God properly, we would have used the word love properly. The one being who has love in him is God Almighty. And when all of us are born out of him, he stands as our background. He sacrificed himself into our existence. Unless he permitted himself to become many, we would not have existed at all. Our existence is due to our first respiration. Our first respiration is due to our nature to respire. And our nature to respire is due to the nature of life. The nature of life is due to the nature of God. The love God bears towards us is the relationship between us and God. But just as we forget about the space in which we are living, just as we remember ourselves more and we do not remember the space in which we are living, similarly, we are busy to remember ourselves, and hence we do not remember him in whom we are existing. Do you remember that you are breathing? You are busy with your own work during the day. You remember your work and yourself, and you do not remember that you are breathing, and hence you do not remember how important the breath is. If anyone happens to close our mouth and nose for some moments, then we stop to be busy with our own work and we begin to remember our respiration and its importance. Similarly, if there is anyone who can shut our activities down for some time and leave us without doing anything, then we begin to remember about the omnipresence of the Lord in us. Until then, we are busy with our own work. Of course, it is only to make us remember him that old age comes, and sometimes disease occurs, and sometimes the last moments when we are dying, it occurs. In such moments, we are forced to stop our activities and then remember the background of our existence. the one who is permitting us to breathe. And only after we lose hope upon the biggest doctor of our place, then we begin to recollect in whom we are living, by whom we are permitted to respire. There is another method to remember him also. That method is not unhappy as death, disease or old age. That method is called the science of spiritualism. And we can remember him also when we are happy and understand our desire for happiness is due to his presence in us. In our desire to be happy, we do many things. The boy eats a chocolate and the fatigued man goes to sleep, and the active man conducts his researches upon nature and man. The scientist conducts upon the various dimensions of nature, for example, space and time and mind, and the artist tries to gather something which he calls beauty, and everyone is active in his own way because he finds happiness in his own way. Everyone tries to find happiness, and in trying to do so, sometimes we do right things and sometimes we do wrong. Just as when there is no light in the room, we try to locate the switch with our hand. At the same time, we place our finger in the wrong place where there is a very sharp, rusted metallic nail and injure ourselves. That does not mean we want to injure ourselves, but that means that we want to help ourselves. But our procedure is wrong. Our intention is never wrong. Similarly, everyone proceeds in his own way in the activity of life. And sometimes we are right, and the result is happiness. Sometimes we are wrong, and the result is sorrow, unhappiness, pain. Then we begin to locate the causes of our unhappiness in others. We find someone who has put the nail there on the wall. We call him a fool because we very much like to throw the responsibility and blame upon others. It begins to multiply our troubles. Instead of putting our finger on the right place on the switch, we put our finger on the wrong place and we begin to call others fools. And then we grow angry with others. Then there is no trouble to the other person, but our anger increases the speed of our circulation. The result is hypertension to ourselves, not to others, and headache only to ours, not to the other. Sometimes we do wrong things, we go into suffering, and then we try to locate the causes outside, either with our neighbors or with some other people whom we call enemies. And if no enemy is found, we try to locate the causes in invisible beings whom we call the planet. In the weekly readings in the newspaper, the astrologer divides all the mankind of this globe into 12 equal parts and writes 12 paragraphs with beautiful pictures of the ram and the bull, etc. We look to our picture in the paper. I am a bull, I look to the bull. If I am a ram, I look to the picture of a ram and try to read what story is written there for me in that week. This is the story of every Dimash. And he writes, this week the planets are a little bit difficult for you. So be prudent. And in the week end, if you have a tribune, he need not write. We know that we will go somewhere in the weekend. But he too writes. Because he has to write something in the paper. And we throw the blame and responsibility upon the planets. We say it is already written in the newspaper that our planets are a bit deficit this week. That's why my Mars has asked me to place my hand on the nail. So we throw the blame upon the poor Mars, who is a very good friend of ours, or sometimes on Saturn. Anyhow, the human mind is guilty enough to throw the blame upon someone else. Some people throw it upon karma. They say, it is due to my karma. In India, the number of people are more. In the Occident, the number of people are becoming more and more developed, who say it is my karma. Of course, in one sense it is true. Karma means what we have done. We put our hand on the wrong place. That is what we have done by way of karma. And the result is the damage. Similarly, we do many things, but the motive to do anything is only happiness. No one wants to injure his finger with the nail. Everyone wanted to have the light in the room. Similarly, all those who are suffering in this world, they are in no way wishing to be unhappy. Nobody likes unhappiness. Everyone wants to be happy. Though some people make themselves unhappy. And then they say, God is cruel. Some people say, we don't believe in God. If God were to be there, why should He create so many people with suffering? The question remains there always, because He cannot telephone to God. This is all because we want to be happy. This is the sum total of this story. And if we question why we want to be happy, the answer is we cannot try to be otherwise. When we spend a few moments about ourselves, when we remove all the technical terms used to understand ourselves and directly look to ourselves, we find that every one of us tries only to be happy. One cannot try to be otherwise. The answer is because we come out of happiness. We are sparks of the one God, and we took our manifestation in Him. One consciousness is sacrificed for our many consciousnesses. In His sacrifice we are born. Because of His sacrifice we live on His background. And into His sacrifice we merge again. Just as the waves of the ocean come out of the ocean, they proceed on the surface of the ocean, and then they disappear in the ocean. Just as the water in the wave is also salty, because the water in the ocean was salty, the living beings in the creation also want to be happy, because the background is what we call happiness, whom we call God, whom we call is nothing but happiness in existence. We living beings are happiness in experience. Happiness in existence can never be imagined by living beings. Happiness in experience can be spoken of by any one of us. And it is somewhat different from the original happiness. But at the same time, it is somewhat identical to the original happiness. Just as the space in this room is somewhat different from the open space outside, but at the same time it is not different from the space outside. Because this room is built in space which was there previously. Space is never built in any room. Space is the original, the eternal, in which the room is built periodically, and the shape of the space in the room takes the shape of the room temporarily and used according to our own taste and utility. Though there was no specific separate selfish use in space, if we speak of the space in this room, it is in no way different from the space outside in its essence, but in its utility, it is always different from the space outside. Similarly, we are not different from God, but in our way we are different from God. And the concept of happiness exists in us only as experience. And the concept of happiness exists in God not as a concept at all,
No.
but as existence. You try to imagine the difference between existence and experience. Experience is localization and existence is totalism. Existence is specification, that is conditioning, whereas existence is not conditioned by anything. So we can speak of our experience about happiness. Our experience of happiness is a sample of the existence of happiness. Just as the water in the tumbler is a specimen of the water on the mountains. It is not so very easy to drink the water from the springs and the mountain. If we go there and try to drink it, the spring will throw us down with great speed. But here it permits us to taste. We know water only as the specimen which we have until we approach the spring. Similarly, every one of us have the concept of happiness before he can make a direct approach of real happiness. With this introduction, we will try to enter into the real meaning of love. We say the mother loves the child, father loves the son, husband loves his wife, wife loves her husband. No doubt it is love, but it is only a specimen of love, and we can't call it love the original. A mother and a father were taking a child in a boat. If the child slips from the arms and falls in the river, and if the father or mother do not know how to swim, they begin to weep in the boat. They do not jump into it. So this is the limitation of the love we know. If the mother is taking the child by the hand, and if the child goes to the rails of a railway train, when the train is rushing, the mother closes her eyes and and the train crashes the child. The mother never runs to die with the child or try to protect the child. Here is the limitation of what we wrongly call love. If a mother and father stand on a terrace and take the child in the arms, show the colorful lights of illumination. If the child stretches the arm outside and slips from the hand down, the mother and father, they cry and weep and run down either on a lift, or if the lift is absent, they run down the staircase, but they do not jump from the terrace. This is the limitation where our love stops. So we can know the greatness of what we call love. It is correct that it is love, but it has its own limitation. It is not wrong to say that this is water, but this is water only in a tumbler. You can't compare with ocean. I can't say that there is some ocean in the tumbler. I can say only that there is water in it. So this is only a specimen. Now, at first you try to understand that every one of us has a specimen in us. A specimen of what we call love. And we call it the ocean. Not devotion, it is the ocean. From this specimen of water, we have to travel a long way to reach the ocean. It requires great devotion. Then we reach the ocean. And now, let us try to trace this journey long way. Every living being has to take this journey someday or other. It is a matter of time. Just as the flowers on a bunch of flowers exist in many gradations of blossoming. There are some blossomed flowers, some half-blossomed flowers, some mature buds, some immature buds, some very little buds who have not yet developed either the perfume or the colors of the. So we have among ourselves all these gradations of love. Among us, we are there who have not developed either the perfume or the color of love yet. There are people who are just developing. The colors in the bud are just forming. They are very busy in their colleges and schools, their girlfriends and boyfriends. They are very busy to find their mates. So the colors are just forming. They too call it love. The young man says, she loves me. The little girl says, he loves me. Yet we human beings are shameless to call it love. But we are permitted to call it love by the one who loves us. He is in us all. He loves us so much that he permits us to call this also love. This is nothing but animal instinct of sex. It is common to the animals and the human beings. The sex instinct is quite common with the age to a pig or a dog or a human being. Yet we have no shame with our dirty faces, we call it love. But the one in all of us so loves us that he permits us to call it love. Because also this is a sample or a specimen of love. If I call this ocean, what do you think? You may think I am insane. But God never thinks us insane. If we call the animal instinct sex by the name of love, because He is real love, He thinks us that we are children and infants. If I say, Father, this is ocean, the Father of all just smiles and rejoices in our play. He is neither angry nor jealous with our play, but He just smiles at us and says, these are my little children. They will grow, and someday they will know what love is. They too can go to the sea in the weekend, show their hand to the ocean and call it ocean. That is how He thinks about us. It is not like ourselves thinking one about the other, but the one thinks about all of us in a benevolent way. Because a spark of His love is with every one of us all. Therefore, we call every dirty thing by the name love. But in the background, there is that spark, love. That is what we call the presence of God in us. And He permits us to call it love. After some years, the student grows up and he marries her and she marries him. And then they believe that what they experience is love. They laugh at their behavior in the school days and college days. Begin to recollect how they were foolish to call the college life love. Now they will begin to understand that what is there between the husband and wife is real love. Then they begin to remark that every little fellow on the street says that he is loving. It is very bad. It is wrong. We, husband and wife, we love each other. This is the true love. That is how the young couple is. But God sees them and smiles. Poor little being. Because He is never proud of Himself. Though every young couple is proud of themselves for some years. And he loves her too much. She loves him too much. And the too much love creates quarrels between them. He wants to take her to Brussels. She wants to take him to Paris. And there is a quarrel. And a long way to dispute. The car is there waiting in the street. They quarrel and quarrel till it is late in the night. And then they say, it is very chill. Let us go tomorrow. Take the car again into the garage. They cancel their program. After 4 or 5 such experiences, each of them separately consults a psychologue and tries to explain his and her own difficulties. They call it difficulties. In fact, they created, there are no difficulties at all, yet they are shameless to call them difficulties.